of horology is far more than a passion for beautiful objects. It is a fascinating intersection of craftsmanship, culture, history, and finance, where certain timepieces quietly evolve into powerful long-term investments. Before we even begin discussing specific watches, it is essential to understand what truly makes a watch an investment piece rather than simply an expensive accessory. In the modern collector market, a watch holds value when it sits at the intersection of five critical factors: brand heritage, design longevity, cultural significance, mechanical credibility, and collector demand. Many first-time buyers believe that price alone determines investment potential, but in reality, the watch market behaves more like the art world. Some watches become icons because they represent moments in history, engineering breakthroughs, or design revolutions. A brand such as has spent over a century building a reputation for durability, prestige, and reliability. Because of this reputation, its watches often maintain strong resale value across decades. However, brand prestige alone is not enough. A watch must also possess what collectors call design permanence. When a design remains visually relevant for 50 or 60 years without major modification, it demonstrates timeless appeal. Watches that follow short-term fashion trends rarely hold value because they become visually dated. Another critical element is scarcity. Limited production or high global demand can create waiting lists, and those waiting lists frequently translate into higher resale prices. Cultural presence also matters enormously. If a watch is associated with exploration, cinema, or historical milestones, collectors tend to attach emotional value to it, which strengthens demand. Finally, liquidity must be considered. The best investment watches are not only desirable, but also easy to resell because thousands of collectors worldwide recognize them instantly. When you combine all these elements together, a very specific category of watches emerges. Timepieces that are attainable under $10,000, yet possess the structural characteristics required for long-term desirability. One of the most reliable entry points into investment-grade watch collecting is the legendary. Among its most compelling models under the $10,000 threshold sits the understated yet incredibly respected Rolex Explorer. The Explorer embodies the philosophy of functional elegance. Its design is incredibly simple: a clean black dial, bold Arabic numerals at 3, 6, and 9, and luminous markers optimized for visibility in extreme conditions. Yet this simplicity hides an extraordinary history. The Explorer line is associated with the golden age of mountaineering and exploration, a time when adventurers pushed the limits of human endurance in some of the harshest environments on Earth. The watch became symbolic of reliability under pressure. Because the design has remained remarkably consistent for decades, collectors view the Explorer as one of the purest expressions of the Rolex philosophy. Another interesting option is the Rolex Oyster Perpetual. Although technically simple compared to complicated watches, it represents the fundamental DNA of the brand. The Oyster case, the automatic movement, and the clean dial architecture have made it a timeless entry into the Rolex universe. In recent years, colorful dial variations created enormous enthusiasm among collectors, demonstrating how subtle design updates can reignite interest in classic models. Finally, the Rolex Air King offers something slightly more unconventional. Inspired by aviation instruments, the Air King features a dial layout that feels dynamic and distinctive compared with other Rolex sports watches. Because it historically lived in the shadow of more famous models, many collectors believe it remains somewhat undervalued relative to its heritage. In the watch world, undervalued models within powerful brands often become the next stars of the secondary market once collectors begin rediscovering them. If Rolex represents the ultimate benchmark of stability in watch collecting, then the Omega Speedmaster represents the fascinating combination of technical innovation and historical storytelling. The most famous model in this category is without question the Omega Speedmaster Professional. Few watches in history carry a narrative as powerful as the Speedmaster. When astronauts landed on the moon during the Apollo mission, the Speedmaster was strapped to their wrists. This moment permanently linked the watch with one of humanity's greatest technological achievements. The fact that the watch used during this mission was a mechanical chronograph rather than a digital instrument only amplified its legend. Today, the Speedmaster retains almost the same visual identity it had during the space race era. the black dial, the tachymeter bezel, the tri-register chronograph layout, and the manually wound movement. Because Omega has preserved this design continuity so carefully, collectors feel a direct connection between modern models and the historical pieces worn by astronauts. Another fascinating watch within Omega's portfolio is the Omega Seamaster Diver 300M. This model combines serious diving capability with a very recognizable aesthetic, including its distinctive wave pattern dial. Its popularity expanded dramatically after appearing on the wrist of the fictional spy in numerous films. The combination of professional specifications and pop culture visibility has helped the Seamaster develop an extremely loyal global collector base. Investment watches are not limited to sports models. Some of the most enduring pieces in horology are defined primarily by design rather than by extreme technical specifications. A perfect example is the Cartier Santos, created by the legendary House of. The Santos is widely recognized as one of the earliest wristwatches designed specifically for a man. It was originally created for the aviation pioneer who needed a practical timepiece he could read while flying. The square case, visible screws, and integrated bracelet gave the watch an aesthetic identity that was radically different from traditional pocket watch-inspired designs of the era. More than a century later, that same design still feels modern. The modern Santos models incorporate automatic movements, improved water resistance, and interchangeable bracelet systems, while preserving the historic look that made the watch famous. Another design icon from Cartier is the Cartier Tank Must. Inspired by the geometric lines of military tanks viewed from above, the Tank has become one of the most elegant dress watches ever created. Its rectangular silhouette and minimalist dial embody a level of refinement that transcends fashion cycles. Because of this timeless design, the Tank has remained a favorite among artists, actors, and collectors for generations. Moving deeper into the world of horology, collectors eventually encounter brands that prioritize craftsmanship and innovation above mainstream marketing visibility. One of the most respected names in this category is Jaeger-LeCoultre. The company has long been known as the Watchmakers' watchmaker because it has developed movements not only for its own watches, but also for numerous prestigious brands throughout history. Its most iconic model is the Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso. Originally designed in the 1930s for polo players who needed to protect the crystal of their watches during matches, the Reverso features an ingenious case that flips over to shield the dial. What began as a functional solution eventually evolved into one of the most recognizable watch designs ever created. The Art Deco lines of the case, the symmetrical dial layouts, and the mechanical elegance of the reversible mechanism have made the Reverso a true classic. Because it occupies a unique niche within watchmaking, it attracts collectors who appreciate both engineering ingenuity and timeless design. Another fascinating direction for collectors involves brands that challenge traditional Swiss dominance by bringing new philosophies and craftsmanship traditions into the luxury watch market. A perfect example is Grand Seiko. Originally developed as Japan's answer to Swiss haute horlogerie, Grand Seiko has gradually gained international recognition for its extraordinary attention to detail. One of the most celebrated models within this universe is the Grand Seiko Snowflake. The Snowflake has become famous for its textured dial, which resembles freshly fallen snow in the mountains surrounding the Shinshu watch studio where the watch is produced. This poetic approach to design reflects a broader philosophy within Japanese craftsmanship that emphasizes harmony with nature. In addition to its stunning dial, the watch also features the brand's remarkable spring drive movement. This hybrid technology combines mechanical energy with electronic regulation to produce an incredibly smooth seconds hand and exceptional accuracy. As collectors increasingly recognize the technical sophistication of Grand Seiko, demand for these watches continues to grow worldwide. Ultimately, the secret to successful watch investing is not simply choosing famous brands, but understanding how to build a thoughtful and balanced collection. Condition plays an enormous role in long-term value. Watches that retain their original components, sharp case lines, and untouched dials are far more desirable than heavily polished examples. Documentation also matters greatly. Original boxes, warranty papers, and service records add legitimacy and confidence for future buyers. Timing can also influence investment outcomes. During periods of intense hype, prices can temporarily inflate beyond realistic long-term value. Patient collectors often achieve better results by buying during quieter market periods when enthusiasm has cooled. Another strategy involves diversification. Instead of purchasing a single expensive watch, some collectors prefer assembling a small portfolio of different styles. Perhaps a professional sports watch, a refined dress piece, and a technically innovative model from an independent brand. This approach spreads risk while also making the collection more interesting from a cultural and historical perspective. In the end, the best investment watch is the one that combines historical significance, enduring design, mechanical excellence, and genuine personal fascination. Because when passion and knowledge align, a simple timepiece can quietly become both a financial asset and a lifelong companion.